Okay, while you were gone, I laminated our wingtips together. They should be nice and dry. We'll do a little pull test. Oh yeah, that's good. Now, a lot of people probably would use epoxy. Well, let me tell you something. Epoxy is good for some things, like a plywood motor mount. But really, epoxy sometimes can be just overkill. I like to use this white glue, aliphatic glue, yellow glue, for, gluing things together. Yeah, it takes a little while for it to dry, but I'm going to tell you the bonding power of that glue is really amazing. Usually the wood will break before the glue does. What I've got here in my hand is the leading edge. The stock for the leading edge is just a 32nds of an inch too narrow. Well, to sand the leading edge down to meet the wood, to meet this, would have meant that the leading edge of my balsa wood on the skin would have gotten pretty thin. So what I did was I just took my leading edge stock and laminated an 1/8 of an inch piece to it. That will give me the area that I need to sand on. I tell you, if you go into the forums very often and people ask these questions like, well, what glue did you use? And I'd say I use white glue or aliphatic glue, aliphatic resin. One thing, it's not expensive. And then you'll always have someone that'll come back and say, oh, I just use epoxy. Emphasis on the word, I just use epoxy. Like, using the epoxy was just the easiest thing there was to do. That was just the simplest thing. Well, some of these self-proclaimed experts that you find in these forums, the only thing they've ever put together before in their life is an ARF. And it was probably a plug and play. So I really don't pay much attention to them. But I like to hear, when they say, oh, I just use epoxy. Let me get my little saw. I want to do some trimming right here. That's the trailing edge stock that I put on there. The trailing edge stock that I used is hard balsa, real hard balsa, because the trailing edge of your wing, being it comes down to a very small diameter edge, takes a beating. Got a sneeze coming on. So I like to tack on some hard balsa so that when it gets bumped, getting in and out of the car or at the flying field, it doesn't tear up the trailing edge or my ailerons. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to glue on our wingtips. And what kind of glue am I going to use? White glue. Now, give me a couple pieces of tape out here. Now, the balsa wood that I've used on the wingtips is hard balsa wood. Why do I use hard balsa wood? Well, your wingtips take a beating. You know, when you're a competition airplane takes a lot of beatings. Come in for a landing, well, you scrape the wingtips on the runway. And if you got soft balsa wood for a wingtip, it just gouges big old hunks of it out. But the hard balsa wood is a little bit less easy to gouge out like that. So, let's get us some glue out here. Let me get something to start with. Now I want you to notice that I am not going to use a lot of glue on that wingtip. Just want to make sure that our wingtip block is equally spaced. So we've got room to sand it. you know. Now I will say also is that the leading edge balsa wood is also hard balsa, because the leading edges, trailing edges of your wings take a heck of a licking, and at least the hard balsa wood will stand up to, you know, the dents that you're liable to put in there. We like to check first to make sure that our block is big enough for our wingtip. Okay, we're going to let that dry. And after I eat some dinner, Let that dry good. Come back out. We'll put the leading edges on. And then we're going to get out our tools that we're going to use next. So let's take a look at the tools we're going to use next. This. That's our plane. Do a lot of shaping with the plane. Sanding block. And that's all we're going to need to shape everything we've got there to do. We'll put these on the leading edges. When the tape gets dry, we'll sand off the front edge of our blocks. And these will carry out all the way past the wingtip blocks to make a nice straight leading edge. So I'm going to go eat some dinner and be back later.